You are now listening to the Internal Affairs podcast.
Hello. Welcome back. Man, it's been a little while since I recorded a podcast. It's been a while since I put some content out, right? Roughly like a month and a half. But I could not let April go by without, putting some of my ideas out there. I had a couple things on my mind. I learned a lot of things in the last month and a half. My birthday passed, so I had an awesome birthday. My sister came out, caught a flight. My nephew came out to visit me, and it was like the best birthday I ever had. Man, my sister don't usually travel. She don't come out unless she feels safe and she feel like she could really trust the situation. And I'm like, yo, it made me feel like I really grew up. Like my older sister really just like trusts me and everything. So I had a good birthday. Like it was like one of them birthdays where you feel like you're starting to really become into who you are and shit like that. So over the past month and a half, I've been having all type of revelations about myself, about the podcast, about all my creations, being a dad, all type of stuff, man. And what I realized is that it was a lot of shit that was hindering me. A lot of my attitudes, a lot of my wounds was hindering me. And that's what we're going to get into on this podcast. We're going to talk about, as you can see in the title, we're going to talk about exit wounds. We're going to talk about what an exit wound is. We're going to talk about what's the positive side of exit wounds. And I don't know, we're going to see where it go. I realized this too about podcasting, that I'm not one of those podcasters that can write things down and try to follow a list. That's not my lane. It's like my ideas build up. It's like a pregnancy, so to speak. I carry around the ideas, I formulate them, and then once it gets, to the point where it feel like I'm about to pop, then I just come kick it and just try to make sure I get it to you real and just be as authentic as I could be. And that's like my ultimate goal, because I feel like if I be myself, then it get the listener permission to be themselves and fuck up and say all, and just be who they are. So, and that's real hard in this world. So, we're gonna get into exit wounds. I just want to say this too. Like, I realized this too in this last hiatus I took from podcasting or whatever. I realized that I'm not talking to everybody. Of course, I realized it's a small group of people I'm probably talking to. I realize a lot of the listeners that's going to listen to this will listen later down the line. They'll find this down the line, and I have to really cater to y'all. I can't cater to the people that might not understand it or might just still be into certain things and it's not their lane. I realize where I got to stay true at. And this the Internal Affairs podcast. We get to the core of the matter as best as we can. So, with that being said, let's define what an exit wound is. My definition of an exit wound is the initial wounding that you have. It could come from childhood, a traumatic experience, the environment, a caretaker, whatever the case may be. And as life goes along, it's a wound that gets reopened. You know what I mean? For example, I had mommy issues, so I ran into women in my life that reopened that wound. Of course, it was a stumbling block for me. It was a hindrance. It was every time, just when you play a video game or something, every time you get on a certain level, it just get hard, and you're just damn, am I ever going to pass this? And then once you get past it, you level up, and then you get all these superpowers and all these gifts and new gadgets. That's pretty much what an exit wound is. An exit wound is when, I want to make sure I detail this definition, because an exit wound is when you're departing from your wounding, when you're departing from your hindrance, when it's no longer holding you back, when you've dealt with it, when you seen why it happened. And that's the thing about an exit wound. It's going to show you why it happened, what's the reason behind it, and it's going to also show you it's going to always reward you, because first and foremost, you're just being more free. You know what I mean? You're not being limited in that way anymore. And also, and one of my best friend, man, who just talked about this, he used one of my lines on me. He was like, it's a difference between attachment and connection. And I want to talk about that too, about how our wounds bring us together. You know what I'm saying? The same way our healing bring us together. When you, like they say, birds of a feather flock together. So millionaires hang with millionaires, you know what I'm saying? Their conversations is about making millions, so that's what they with, and that's what they're attracted to. But when you wounded and you don't know it or you didn't deal with it, you're going to keep attracting something that's going to keep picking at that wound until you're ready to deal with it. And I want to really keep it on a positive note because, first of all, if you want to talk about the wounding and all of that stuff, if you want to hear about that, you could go look at listen to one of my prior podcasts, The Residue. It's called The Residue. And it's really, it's about the wounding, having, where it come from and pinpointing it. But this podcast, I just really want to touch on the positive side of your wounding, right? So the thing about our wounds is, and everybody don't get to the bottom of it. That's why I said this is not for everybody, because there's some people that's always going to keep looking at that same wound. Let's say we got a bullet wound, right? And it happened 10 years ago. You're going to have some people that's going to keep looking at that wound and telling the story of how they got sabotaged, how they're the victim, how woe is me, and shit like that. And then you're going to have the person that be like, all right, they might have started off saying it was the worst day of their life, but along those 10 years, they start to heal and realize, okay, because that happened, I stopped doing this and I start doing that, and then I changed my life, and it made me think different, and it made me move different, and I'm so happy that happened. You get to a point where you see the fortune in the misfortune. And that's why I always say this too, like time don't heal everything. Like attention does, like consciousness does, caring does, like feeling it, getting to like really wanting to understand yourself and know who you is and be free and not be the type of person that when somebody else walk in the room, you gotta tuck your tail and can't be yourself. And that's where like most of society won't stem from, So it'd be like a pressure on us to be perfect. I deal with that a lot, even like with the podcast and any other content I put out. I deal with like the fact that I used to deal with it more like worry about if I'm messing up, worry about people gonna say, worry about who gonna see it, and then you grow out of that shit too. You start to release that perfectionist wound to where everything gotta be perfect, and that's such a, it's such a free space, man. And I just want you, the listener, to understand like your wound is your way. Like wherever you hurt at, the things that you might be ashamed of, the things that might be called weird by society and your family don't accept it and all that shit, that's the best shit. That's you right there. That's who you are. Like the things you can't shake, you just you. And it's just like you might be scared to come out of the, you know what I mean? Like and show everybody the new you or what you into, but it all come with shedding that initial wound, shedding that limitation. Like asking yourself, why I feel guilty? Why I feel ashamed about some shit I did? I did it already, you know what I mean? If I forgive, looked into it, forgive myself, like why should I feel ashamed? I need to move on from this. I feel like my audience, the people that listen to Eternal Affairs podcast, I feel like these are the type of conversations y'all like to hear. These are the type of conversations you already indulge in, whether you're going to listen to me or not. You're going to find it on YouTube. You're going to find something on Instagram because you realize like it's something that's hindering you from reaching that vision that you see every day in your mind, that you feel in your heart every day, regardless of the circumstances that's going on around you. I feel like the biggest core fear of like most people is being seen as themselves, raw, good and bad. Being seen, being judged, like allowing people to have their own opinion about you. And that's something I struggle with. I used to be an asshole, like, yo, you can't even think. You only can have the perspective I got on myself. You need to have it too. You know what I'm saying? I used to be like that. Yeah, it's a sensitive world. It's like, yo, we can't take no criticism no more. Everything got to be perfect. If you ain't a part of this group, if you ain't wearing this, if you ain't dating this type of person, then you're not considered of value. But I'm talking to the people that's redefining their purpose, redefining their lives, redefining your wounds, and not letting that be the story of your life because you got wounded at this age or this happened last year. That's going to be the end of your story. Nah, life go on. And it's up to you to go take the time out to like rediscover what's going on inside you. Like, okay, that happened, but what's the root of it? It's hard, yo, because we got to in order to really truly like get to a point where you ready to level up to the next level of life. That shit mean letting a lot of shit go. A lot of people go. Like, for example, I just had a birthday that just passed, and I realized, damn, I'm not a clubber no more. I really knew it in my mind, but my sister was out here. We went and sat at a club, had some hookah, and I just realized, like, as soon as I got there, I'm like, man. And when I'm there, I'm like, I'm ready to go home. It's just not for me no more. You know what I mean? I see people having the time of their life right next to me, and I had a good time too. But it's just like the life of that is no life in that for me. I don't get no pleasure, really truly no pleasure out of it. I don't have no charge to really go do those type of things anymore, because I think I was attracted to stuff like that out of being younger, for one. You might be attracted to it because you might seek attention. It's a part of the culture. Like, it's just the norm. And I feel like that's the problem. Like, people think they living, right? But people don't understand that they only behaving under the jurisdiction of their wounds. And I said this before, like I said, go listen to the Residue podcast if you want to hear more about the wound. But I want to keep it about the making that exit, you feel me, being on the up and up. It's just boiled down to the fact, like, you gotta let some shit go to receive something. I had these conversations with people all the time, and it be seeming like, yeah, it's easy to say, it is better and easier said than done. But is it worth it? That's what I always boil shit down to. Like, is it worth it? Like, is it really gonna fulfill me? Is it something that I feel passionate about? Is it something that I feel is necessary for me to stop this pattern? Like, once you notice a pattern about yourself, you want to make an effort and take accountability and responsibility to not be that way no more, acting that way no more. And you cannot do that if you're still a slave to your wound. If you look at the cover, you can see I ain't want to really throw nobody off, but I had to be true to myself. You see the whips on the guy's back, and it's just like, I wanted to really depict, like, yeah, it's like you're a willing slave. And it's because your wound is feeding you what you used to. So that same area you live in, those same friends that you still talk to about the same things that y'all did when y'all was 14 and 15, and now y'all 30 years old, and y'all still going to the same parties and the same blocks and hanging around the same people and not growing and not building, not expanding. And it's because y'all joined at the womb. You know how they say you joined at the hip? No, you're joined at the womb. You could talk all day about what happened when y'all, you know, how this happened and how y'all grew up. But it's like, when it's going to get to a point, you're going to be like, yo, I just want something not even better, different, change, you know? And that's what I notice when I talk to people on a daily basis. It's just like, they come, they say they want change, they say they sick of this, they tired of that. But I notice they won't have so much, what word I'm looking for? They won't have it reigns supreme over them so much that it's almost like a person, like, you could tell them, you could show them all the solutions in the world, you could give them opportunities, but that wound then be so strong that it'll make a person make excuses and stay in that one spot and stay paralyzed. The fear of failure is real. Like, I grew up with a fear of failure, and I'm like, damn, at a young age, I always felt like I gotta do my best. I always felt like, damn, it ain't enough. Even if people praise it ain't enough, because it ain't happen how I seen it happening in my mind, and I ain't get the perfect, I ain't make it come to life in a perfect way. And that came from a mentality that was placed on me by, like, society, school, America, you call it what you want to call it, your mom, your dad, your community, your environment. And I want that to be understood. A wound is just not something physical. I know we beyond that. We know we talking about mental wounds and emotional wounds as well as physical wounds, and some people spiritual wounds, for real. Because, like, a lot of people are just, you know, in a robotic, in a hypnotic state, and they hypnotize, and they, like I said, they're just a slave to what happened to them. They're a slave to the same narrative, to the same story. And when you making your exit, right, That's the point I'm getting at. When you're making your exit, you're going to start to realize it. And that's how you know you're making your exit. When those conversations no longer interest you. When those places no longer ain't hit different now, ain't the same. Like, when you start having thoughts about what's outside the box that you live in, period. And then when you start feeling a way about it, and then you start taking actions and doing something about it. You know what I'm saying? You're not that person that's just sitting at home watching TV all day, getting fed by the news and taking that at face value. That's another wound we have. We have given our power away to the news channels, to the doctors, to the therapists, to the celebrities. Nobody look in the mirror no more and say, all right, this is how I feel today, this is how I'm rocking out. Everybody is looking. You have to look for what's trending. And that's a wound. When you start to exit this matrix, and like I said, when I say the matrix, I ain't getting all too deep. This is just about the mentality you in. The mentality that's holding you back from being your next version of your greatest self, right? Because we here to grow, right? We here to evolve. I don't think we here to like learn one skill and master that and then never do nothing else. You know what I mean? I feel like we here to explore, expand, and it don't make no sense to me. Like, a lot on some real shit. I wake up every day in this world and I try to like not touch on stuff like this and like try to be too opposite to what's going on in the world, but I can't help it. Like, I've been in a lot of the worldly things and I've experienced a lot of them. I was the president of drinking. I was the president of just being lost as hell and getting fucked up and ending up in bad situations and hurting people and getting hurt, all type of shit, you know what I'm saying? But at some point you realize, like, yo, it's I got a long life ahead of me, hopefully, and you want to do better and you want to be a better example for yourself. Like for me, so a lot of the shit that I outgrown, it was personal. Like, I needed to see that I could do it. I had a vision in my mind, I had a feeling in my heart, like, can I really do this? And every time that I wanted to step outside the barrier, that barrier was always a wound. That barrier was always a voice from a caretaker, a teacher, a celebrity, or something that's telling me I should be this and I can't do this, and if you don't look like this, then. And I feel like, yo, we in 2021. That got come to an end. And I'm really riding for I'm really just riding for the generation that's coming up. I feel like we the ones that gotta step up. We the ones that cannot be trapped inside of our situations that happen, trapped inside the past. Still telling the same narrative, still making the same decisions. Like, you see people that's 50 years old still trying to dress like they're 20 years old. Like, grow up, you know what I'm saying? And I really on some real shit too. I never thought this would be me. I never thought it'd be me advocating for the opposite of the same shit I used to do. I'm telling you, I go back to my city, I go back home, yo, people looking at you like, damn. You know, I know a lot of y'all experience this too. When you go back or you know, and you visit, or people see you, or they see your social media and things like that, they remember you a certain type of way, and that's another wound too. Like, the people pleasing and showing up as how people used to seeing you. I always do that. Like, when I go back to my city, people used to seeing me a certain type of way. I show up like that. I ain't gonna lie. I show up how people used to seeing me. I keep the conversations, like, depending on who it is, I don't really be trying to elevate the conversation. I just live and let live. But I do be influenced by the fact that I have a certain persona there. And I make sure I show up and match that persona. And that's a wound I got to deal with. That's a wound I got to work with. So yeah, maybe when I go back home, I just like be more the new me. It's a challenge. And that's what I really want y'all to know. Like, it's a constant battle. It's a constant challenge. But I promise you, I guarantee you, as you making your exit, and what is the exit? Let's define that. The exit is when you see the what, when, why, and how. The who of why, the hindrance, the jurisdiction, the limitation that's on you. When you start to see that, you start to feel that, and it start to make sense. But you got to dig into it. When it start to make sense, like, and that's why they say everything happened for a reason, because you have to be the reason. You have to find the reason why that happened. I always tell this story, like 50 Cent got shot 9 times, right? He could have said, shit, well, I got shot 9 times. It's the worst day of my life. My life is over. You know what I'm saying? I'll never be the same again. Which you should never be the same again. But when he pointing at those bullet wounds now, I bet you he telling like a whole nother story. The story is of I used to be the victim and now I'm the victor. Like, I used to be a loser, now I'm a winner. It's a triumph. Like, I got through that. It made me stronger. It seemed to be a misfortune, but it was a fortune. It was a blessing in disguise. And that's what our wounds are. Ain't nothing but a blessing in disguise. And the fact that it already happened is the reason for you to figure out why. It's more of a reason for you to redefine it and empower yourself. And this is something I had to learn. I just learned this very recently. You know, we all make a boo-boo. We all fuck up. Whether we fuck over somebody else, we fuck over ourselves, or whatever the case may be, right? But when it's something that happened to us, though, like let's say something happened in your childhood, or you was in a relationship with somebody and they was lying to you and they was cheating on you, just didn't know. Once you're removed from that situation and you start to like get ready to like heal your wounds, or whatever the case may be, there's always that shame and that guilt there to make you feel like you should have known. Make you feel like, yeah, even though I was an 8-year-old child, I should have been able to protect myself. I should have been able to handle the situation. But you gotta remind yourself, like, you wasn't given that opportunity. You wasn't given that power. Somebody took your power away from you unknowingly. You feel what I'm saying? Somebody took advantage of you. And you gotta remember that you ain't had no power at that time, but now you do. And that's why I know a lot of people get stuck at, because that's why I got stuck at. Like, damn, you know, this is fucked up, whatever the case may be. Like, and I replay it in my mind and be really feeling like maybe it's something I could have done. It's kind of like when you watch the movie Get Out, when she put him in a sunken place. Like, yo, she put him in a place where he was helpless and he couldn't defend himself. But what he forgot was, yo, I'm grown now, I'm smarter now. I could redefine this moment in my past and make it into something totally different. I could make it into a book, make it into a story. Do what I do, give it out to to the public, to hopefully that it helps somebody. You feel me? I question your passions, man. Like, I don't know why I like to do this. I don't know why I like the podcast. I don't know why I like to talk. I don't know why I'm so talkative. I just been like this my whole life. I don't know why everybody come ask me for advice. I don't know why I just seem to have the answers for like 90% of the things that people come bring my way. And I know that's by design, because it's too accurate. So shit like podcasting, speaking, creating, it been poking at me, and I just had to see what it was about. And when you dive into your passions and you start to dive into what you feel like is your purpose, that's another good area you're gonna find where your barriers at, where your limitations at, and ain't nothing like facing them. It's like another picking up a badge or something, like another strike. Like, alright, I had this hammer right now and I was destroying everything with it, but now I learned how to build with it. Now I could build with it. It ain't just a tool of destruction no more. It's a tool of renaissance, rebuilding and shit like that. You know what I mean? So that you could offer the real you to yourself. Like, it's hard. Like, when you mentally, physically, whatever, wounded in a way. When I say that, I mean, like, you might be under a wrong perception of what reality is because who you've been taught by. And when you start to really move away from that, it get a little scary out there, you know. And it's another thing I'm gonna start talking about more of that I kind of shied away from. I'm gonna start talking more about this shift that's going on, this awakening, so to speak, that's going on, to where people are becoming conscious of their wounds, which is great. People are coming conscious of the fact that they leaders is not their leaders. They don't have their best interests. So, you know, I want to speak on that. I just ain't no current event type person. I like to make pieces that you could come back and listen to, and then you can apply it to your life at any time, and it don't just got a date on it and I'm talking about what happened on the news. So I feel like we're moving in a good direction. I know it's a lot of y'all out there lonely as hell because you the only one that's becoming aware of, oh shit, this ain't, like, I've been moving like this whole time. I ain't noticed this. I ain't noticed it about myself. Now that I notice it, I got to step away from it. Or even you have conflict within yourself about like what you got to break ties with and detach from and move away from and quit and shit like that, because it's necessary, because you start to realize, yeah, it's familiar, but it don't serve no purpose no more. And when something don't serve no purpose, it needs to be eliminated, because it's just taking up space, it's taking up time, it's taking up energy. And that's why you might feel like, damn, I'm coming into some truth about myself. I'm coming into some truth about the world around me. I'm starting to realize that life ain't just about material things. Like, it's deeper. You're starting to realize that you got a purpose, and you're starting to realize like most of the people around you, probably all of the people around you, are asleep to it. And that's okay. That's by design too, you know, because this is my opinion. I just feel like some form of isolation and separation is necessary for you to rebuild and unlearn all the shit you thought you knew and really learn who you are and get away from all the influences that's trying to tell you who you are and who you're not. But I'm going to tell you right now, you start dealing with and asking yourself, questioning why you are the way you are. How did you get like this, that, and the third? Is what this person taught you, is it true? You've been doing it your whole life. There's people that feel like they gotta take care of their whole family because they've been taught that. I got a friend that he really like, and that's what's up. I don't knock it. He take care of his nephews. He take care of his brothers. He on a beck and call. But I be like, yo, where the room for that in your life? But it's all he know because that's all he been taught, and he waking up to the fact like, yo, I got a life too. It be stuff like that. That be a wound. Let's talk about that part. I'm glad I just thought about that because I was about to end this podcast. I want to talk about when you taught that self-sacrifice is positive. So I'm going to do for everybody else and then I'm going to worry about myself last. And that's supposed to be positive because you did for everybody else. But like, if I don't teach you how to fish, you're going to be looking for me for fish every night. And then I'm going to just be drained out and I'm never going to have time to do what I want to do. It's something I had to learn. I remember like I used to be on the phone with people for 2.5, 3 hours having conversations because they was trying to figure out their shit. And I was like putting myself on the back burner. And I'm just happy we moving into a time where people are forced to be alone a little bit more and become more conscious of, yo, some of the things your parents try to teach you and try to program you to be is like for their benefit. And understand that the system always got something in place for their benefit and then you not even second. Like you just don't even matter. I feel like those of y'all that listen to stuff like content like this, y'all already know that. So I ain't telling y'all nothing new. I just want to make sure I offer you a concept. I just want to make sure I let you know that you ain't the only one. I realize this too. I ain't doing this for no likes. I ain't doing this for no exposure. I'm doing this for that because I know I was that one person. I'll go watch my YouTube channel. They might only got 20 subscribers, but I could feel like they got something to tell me. And if I resonate with it and they resonate with me, I'm subscribing. I'm messing with it. They don't have to have 10, 20 years in. We got to stop that. That's another wound that we carry. We look at a white jacket or a blue jacket or a degree or some type of certificate and we think just because a person got that, they're really truly an expert or they really truly have humanity or care about you. You feel what I'm saying? We got to stop thinking that a system or a person that has a conflict of interest when it comes to you is going to do the best for you. Because you damn sure you take your car to a mechanic. If he might have to pay his child support, he might be backed up. He might tell you something more wrong than your engine than it really is, right? You go to the hospital and the doctor need a little, you know what I'm saying? You just his custody. He's sending you to the pharmacy. But we put our trust because we was taught to do it. And I don't see a lot of people thinking twice, especially my elders. I don't see them thinking twice. They have bought into it so much. And then I'd be like, damn, I can't even blame them because they was taught that. They was hurt and this was forced down their throat too. They wounded and they don't even know it. So they always gonna be a slave to their wounds. Instead of it being exit wounds and you're gonna fuck up out of there and taking that wound with you and redefining that and being who you is regardless of what anybody say. And I'm so happy I took a month and some change off. It happened organically because it gave me the freedom to like really get cool with just being myself and not trying to be perfect and not worry about what somebody gonna say. And from there, you could actually grow. You could actually experience yourself. You're supposed to have fun at what you're doing. It's not supposed to feel like you're in competition. It's not supposed to feel like, oh, but you liked it until somebody ain't give you enough likes. Now you want to take it down. Shit ain't supposed to be about that. If you're going to live a real life, a purposeful life is what I'm saying. Like a healthy life. When I say healthy, that means what makes you feel good. What makes you feel free. I ain't going to just say good, but make you feel free. But it's no freedom. There's no true perspective. It ain't no true. You ain't gonna truly see when the wound's in the way. So make that wound the exit wound, man. Get up out of there. Let it make you stronger. Let it make you smarter. Key words gonna elevate you right away. Yo, I'm trying to make. I don't just want to say healing because that's like a vast and vague word. I'm trying to make like being yourself, being yourself is the shit. Like, really not caring about what nobody think and just being you and being passionate about what you're passionate about, because that's just who you, that's it is what the fuck it is, regardless of any validation. That's always been a currency. Authenticity is currency. Authenticity is currency. Being yourself. You got the one job can't nobody do. And I'm just trying to reiterate that. And should I jump out the window and make myself look stupid in somebody else's eyes and all that? If that's the case, because I really feel like, that's what we all here for, and that's what I'm definitely here for. Ain't nothing better than just being free of the fear of your wounds. Not just being free of your wounds, because it's going to always be something that you got to deal with. It's going to always be something there that you have to attend to. But when you ain't scared of it no more, when you start to realize you ain't all perfect, when you start to admit it, when you start to accept it, when you start to say, I'm not all good, because I done been in bad situations that turned out, like I just said, it was the best thing of my life, but it seemed worse 3 years ago. So happy I didn't get with that person. So happy I didn't keep that job. So happy I ain't stay in that state. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's one and the same, but it's that time period in between and the attention that you give to that, good and bad or whatever you want to call it, just accept it. And I'm telling you, ain't nothing gonna give you that kind of high than just being raw, being you. And I encourage anybody to wake up and just look and see where you could push that boundary a little further. You know what I'm saying? See where you could not care what a person that's next to you think a little bit more today. You know what I mean? See if you could bring, that's the family tradition. I see that ain't working for my life, so I ain't doing it. Regardless if they ain't gonna talk to me no more, regardless if they're not gonna support me and show up to whatever. Fuck it. I just feel like it's my job to do this, so I just do it. Like, it is what it is, to be honest with you. Like, ain't really no true happiness when you suffering. What the fuck? Like, when you don't know why you are the way you are, when you just moving unconsciously, it ain't gonna be nothing but more and more suffering. I'm gonna show up for even if that one listener that waited on my podcast, that waited on it so we could make this connection, you know what I mean? That them two people that really care, that really want to get something out of it, that really want to give things a chance. I do it for y'all. So wherever we go from there, we gonna go together. So that's all I really gotta say. I'm happy to be back. You could expect more content coming soon. You could also expect a visual podcast. I'm gonna say like in the next 2 or 3 months. Might be faster because the universe been just like, if I think it is just dropping my lap. So you might just see a podcast pop up and you just might see me on it. Oh yeah, let me talk about that real quick too. That was a wound that I noticed I had. Like, I don't know if I said this, but like being seen. Like, I didn't want to be seen in an intimate way. I didn't want nobody to see, not physically. I don't like that neither. I just don't like people. You know how sometimes you just don't like people in your face or whatever. But that wound where you just don't want to be seen intimately with all your flaws and all that. We be ducking that. As a whole, as a collective, we be ducking that. We be putting the filters on. We be I'm saying that as a metaphor. We be putting the filters on. We be putting the blinders on, the rose-colored glasses on, and trying to make it look like what it ain't. But yo, imagine if it is what it looked like. Imagine if you are who you say you are. Imagine if you do what you say you're going to do. Feel like the king of the universe, what you are. You feel like the king of the world in your respective field. And I promise you, when you step out on your faith and believe in yourself like that and deal with your shit head on, I promise you it's gonna be like jumping off the biggest cliff and then just getting caught by the biggest clouds and pillows ever. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna look scary, but it's gonna turn out good, man. I can promise you that. So we're gonna stick with it. I'm gonna holler at y'all on the next one. Love you. One.
You are now listening to the Internal Affairs podcast.